Chapter 5 Growth in a Different Perspective. Fast forward a few years, girlfriend number 5, version 2.0, aka girlfriend number 6. I'll be the first one to admit it, I'm a sucker for vagina. Now, I understand what you're thinking. How could I possibly reduce women to their genitalia? I'm not. However, since modern and extreme feminism have taken root in Western society, it has become clear that women no longer require men, and in kind, men have responded. The only thing that is required is the need for sex. Procreation these days is an idea of the past and no longer serves a purpose, not even to propagate the species, according to modern feminism. And now, as of this writing, the trans activists and large genome corporations are monetizing procreation. Soon, if not already, we will have order up baby drive-thrus. Think I'm joking? Follow the fucking money. Women are selling their children and they themselves out for equanimity. Stupid fucks. Over the last decade or so, there has been a significant shift in Western culture. In general, women have been indoctrinated into believing that men are insignificant. Most of the legal systems are biased towards women. And now, the big daddy government can now fill the role of protector and provider. Every woman is strong and independent, and the traditional role of men no longer applies. Take girlfriend number 6, for example, a recent relationship and adventure I embarked on. She's a powerful free thinker, gorgeous in her own right, a successful real estate agent. She is an independent woman who doesn't require much other than entertainment from men. However, with technology, she had embarked on many dating adventures utilizing whatever dating app, fill in the blank. She shared with me a few stories and nightmares she had experienced, and much like many experiences shared by women, she couldn't find her Prince Charming. Again, at the risk of sounding redundant, the Prince Charming myth is bullshit. He doesn't exist. Look at Harry. He's a prince, denounced by his family, and is a complete simp. I digress. Girlfriend number 6 and I met out in the wild, and the relationship began hot and heavy. Obviously, there was a mutual attraction. Girlfriend number 6, a 40-something powder keg of sexual explosiveness, was totally my type, sexy, confident, and chock full of narcissistic tendencies. The relationship ended as quickly as it started. In a matter of 10 days, we had 2 arguments where our conversations led to being hung up on. Clearly, girlfriend number 6 had no respect on any level for me as a man. This falls right in line with the mindset that modern women have. I also believe that men in general have the same mindset. People have no respect for one another, even at the basic human level. When conversations, specifically tough conversations, end in hang-ups or getting shut down, obviously the emotional intelligence of the person doing the hanging up is below average. Still operating at the high school level. It's rude and inconsiderate, especially if a couple tries to establish a long-term relationship. So what caused girlfriend number 6 to hang up on me? We were attempting to arrange a date night going to an outdoor concert in the park scenario. In addition, girlfriend number 6 was trying to coordinate a triple date scenario with her girlfriends, each woman showcasing the ponies, the men in their life. However, there was a glitch. 2 out of the 3 women were having issues with their ponies, and girlfriend number 6 would be the only one bringing said pony to the show. Now, this was a Tuesday. In the morning, I started on my routine. I checked into work, attending my morning meetings, and went on a 12-mile bike ride. This is a routine that I've established for myself since the advent of COVID pandemic. After breakfast, I contacted girlfriend number 6 to begin planning the date night. However, after disconnecting from the call, I had a feeling in my gut that something was not right with the world. My spidey senses were tingling. I reached out via text and shortly after called girlfriend number 6. I mentioned that I wasn't feeling right about how we ended the conversation and asked girlfriend number 6 what was wrong. She said she was expecting a text from me in the morning and was upset that I waited till noon to reach out. As I listened intently, she grew more frustrated because I couldn't understand why this was important, nor was girlfriend number 6 able to explain why she was growing increasingly upset. The conversation grew in intensity, and she told me that her previous boyfriends would always be the first to text in the morning, a red flag. being compared to previous relationships. I quickly responded, and look at where those relationships ended. God, I'm a dick. Now you may think this was cruel. Now you may think this was a cruel response. However, it was an accurate response. All the simps that catered to her whims did not last. When I met her, she claimed to be single, so logically every man she had dated before me had not satisfied her ego. Women in general, when confronted with the truth, will almost always revert to emasculation or gaslighting in conversation. Girlfriend. Girlfriend number 6 was no different. Generally, women will always compare you to a prior relationship, hold you in comparison to their father if they grew up with a father, and attempt to break you down. By comparing you and your personality with good and bad traits from former lovers in their lives, women want to ensure your concession by leveraging your ego against you. Just keep a note on this one. This also leads to high body counts, and that it's why it's essential for you to understand her body count and, more importantly, your body count. More on this later. Back to girlfriend number 6. I had to stop the conversation and get clarification. And I asked, so allow me to understand. You want me to change who I am so you can feel good about yourself. Her response was, don't bother coming. I can't even say it with a straight face. Her response was, don't bother coming tonight. Click. My recommendation is to remain stoic and not feed into this trap. Don't concede. Once you bend the knee and cater to the ego of a woman, you've compromised your integrity. This is very unattractive for women as much as men. If a woman wants to be in your life, she will be. Otherwise, consider yourself lucky. You've just avoided a train wreck. Back to why body count is important for both men and women. If it is in your mind that you want to find a relationship, whether that be marriage, a long-term relationship, or a live-in situation, I highly recommend vetting your potential partner, giving it at least 90 days before jumping into bed with this person. I can hear the player community just about shitting themselves and responding with the same old notes from 1989. If she doesn't put out by a date 3, then dump that bitch. Look, if you're playing the field and just looking for pussy, have at it. Plow as many fields as you wish. What I'm talking about is vetting the candidate for a relationship. Follow me on this line of reasoning. I'll use the example of a corporation. Most potential employees have a 90 to 180 day vetting period prior to becoming full-time with benefits. This is to ensure the corporation's new hire is a right fit for the culture of the work environment. Think of yourself as a corporation and vet your LTR prospects. Most people will reveal themselves and their true nature will naturally come out within the first 90 days. So if your potential LTR asks you to change your routine, to change the things that make you great and give meaning to your life to accommodate her or his need for attention, then you know it's a red flag. Most candidates will eliminate themselves if you are paying attention, and no need to feel down on yourself. It isn't you, it's them. Something else to consider is most people, in general, don't realize they are behaving badly. So it doesn't make sense to try to point it out. Simply excuse yourself from the situation. You can say something like, this is no reflection of who you are as a human being. However, this relationship isn't going to work for me. I wish you the best of luck. And then bounce. Get the fuck out of that situation. How does the body count fit into this conversation? Well, it really doesn't. However, if a woman has a high body count, it gives her ammunition to compare you to men she's previously fucked. She'll hold you to a standard you won't be able to satisfy because she is stricken with alpha widow syndrome. Much like girlfriend number 5 and wife number 1, girlfriend number 6 compared me to her prior relationships. A woman with a high body count will compare you to Tyrone Thundercock the minute you disappoint her. Or she believes she's been disappointed. She won't come out to say it, but she's thinking it, all the while swiping through her dating apps looking for the next guy. The 90 days will allow you to see if her garage is clean and organized. Your body count should be at least in the double digits. This is important. men must understand and navigate a woman's vagina and how to pleasure her. How to do this is outside the scope of this book. You'll just have to wait for my next book, where I'll share all my dirty little secrets. However, my logic is sound. After she gets home from her date with beta bucks, she'll be calling you for the alpha fucks. Your ego will thank me. They always call back at least once. Hot mess girl number 7. As a 28-year-old train wreck, this experience was nothing but red flags written all over it. I just have to lay it all down. Sexy brunette with a nice little body, green highlights, tattoos, piercings, single mother, daddy issues, and a taste for whiskey. All red flags. Talk about a party on wheels. Going into this experience, I wasn't expecting much. With that being said, there was a significant age gap. Typically, in most situations, I'm the life of the party. Naturally, people tend to gravitate toward me. Don't expect too much from younger women if you're an older gent. They have very little to bring to the table regarding life experience. Yes, the sex was fun, but that's about all. I have to caveat that last statement. If you are looking for marriage and children, then younger women will fulfill the requirements. However, be cautious and vet your candidate. One thread I've noticed in most of my experiences regarding sex is that there is a propensity to steer towards shared trauma. As I begin to learn more about these women, I find we share traumatic experiences in our lives. Some of the women are pursuing help through therapy or coaching. However, not all therapists are created equal. Back to shared trauma. I've had my fair share of trauma in my youth, and I've painstakingly tried to heal from those wounds most of my adult life. In my experience, I'm okay with women sharing their traumas. It doesn't scare me. What I am sensitive to, and I ask the question, is have they done the work and changed their victim mindset? These are the red flags every bachelor needs to be aware of. If you get involved with an individual who is not reconciled with their past, you will be the target of blame for every trauma they've experienced in their life. One of the biggest things that tipped me off regarding girlfriend number 7 was that early on, love bombing was in full gear. In addition, she told me that she wouldn't lie to me. This is a huge red flag in any situation. If a woman or man is telling you what they won't do in advance, the probability is high that is precisely who they are. Again, they may not be aware of their character defects. In this situation, they may not consider a white lie a lie. Ultimately, this short-lived excursion ended with me being lied to. The details aren't necessary. However, most people will tell you who they are in simple conversation. You just need to listen to it. Simps do it all the time. They tell you everything they are not and end up being exactly who they warned you about. That's coming from a reformed simp. There is a common thread regarding all the women in my life. They all happen too fucking fast. It was 0 to 60 in sex and instant gratification. Don't get me wrong, it's in a man's biology to pursue sex as a driving force for propagating the species. The lizard part of the brain has vagina at the forefront. To add some perspective on the lizard brain, it's any part of the person's psyche or personality dominated by instinct or impulse rather than rational thought. Where men have an instinctual need to fuck, women have the instinctual need for security and resources. Deny all you want, this is how humans are programmed. Add into the mix social pressures, past experiences, positive and negative, and the need for instant gratification. Now you have a dynamite nitroglycerin cocktail just ready to cause chaos. Some relationships move like a slow burning fuse. Some burn faster and eventually it all blows up in your face. It is difficult enough just to take care of one's own needs, much less to take care of your counterpart's psychological needs. Coming full circle to what was mentioned earlier, women no longer need men to fulfill their need for security and resources. They are either employed or have big daddy government subsidize and filling this role. The modern wave of feminism has also taught women that they can fulfill physical needs through other women, and dating apps make it much easier for women to increase their body count. On the contrary, the men who are still men and self-sustaining by their own contributions own property, pay bills, and are generally responsible. These guys are typically overlooked because these values are no longer valued. What to do? Well, there have been many movements over the last 20 or so years, men going their own way, red pill versus blue pill, and black pill, proving men are disengaging and feminists are having a shit fit. Women are freezing their eggs to pursue careers, forego family, and live adventurous lives. It's an interesting dichotomy. Young women are seeking happiness and fulfillment, simping themselves to an ideological cult mindset, and all the while they're experiencing stress and depression at alarming rates. At the same time, men are being men and doing what they've always done. On the other side of that coin, there's the player movement. Men trolling the internet and dating apps to get as much pussy as possible, increasing their own body count. An entire industry has been built around the player mindset of getting laid as much as possible without the need for commitment, tearing through the up and coming talent, college age women, and leaving nothing but carnage in their wake. And as a result, most young women have a body count of 10 or more men by their sophomore year in college. Burn the bra. Hoo hoo. I myself have been accused of being a player. However, I believe I've been miscategorized. If you were going to label me and put me in a box, then make sure you have all your facts straight. I'm not a player. Players manipulate and lie to get between a woman's leg. I realize this contradicts chapter 2, so allow me to clarify. Simps typically fixate on the one object of their desire, where players have multiple targets. Today, I will tell you that I openly date women, sometimes simultaneously, sometimes one at a time. This is also known as spinning plates. I have a palate for vagina, but I won't cheat. However, cheating is defined nowadays, and it's a subjective term. I no longer play the role of a good friend to women I want to fuck. You could say I'm a reformed simp. In the last two chapters, I laid out, no pun intended, some of my earlier relationships and in contrast some of the later escapades. In doing so, I wanted to illustrate the shift in thinking and approach regarding relationships. Where in early relationships, I was all too eager to get into a commitment with whoever was available. In the latter ones, I was intentionally vetting prospects. Yes, I still love women and vagina. My libido is still intact. However, I'm way more selective, believe me. If there's an opportunity to smash, I won't look a gift horse in the mouth. However, fucking after a third date, well, just meaningless and fruitless. Today, I will only vet and take my time. While easily grazing on low-hanging fruit is fun, I'd rather establish a foundation to develop a relationship with worthwhile prospects, hopefully avoiding chaos and headaches. Stoicism plays a considerable role in keeping you sane. As of this writing today, I've also considered abstaining from sex altogether. It seems that while spinning plates is fun, dating takes resources. I also have to think about what kind of return I'm getting for the simple act of fucking. Remember, time, energy, and money and resources are finite. I consistently ask myself, what type of woman am I welcoming into my frame? Here's a simple truth I have also discovered in dating. Normies cannot date people who are in recovery programs. Of course, there are exceptions, so don't get your underwear all bunched up. After having dated people who do not understand the principles of the 12 steps and are not even curious enough to ask or show any interest, I realize the probability of these relationships lasting is low.